Hi and hello watch fans, and welcome to another edition of the Real Time Show with me, your friendly neighborhood watchmaker, Rob Nuts. Today I am joined by two representatives from the French brand Hegid. We have Scott Montemurro and Henrick Gauché. How are you both, gents?
We are fine. Hello, and thank you for the invitation.
It's our pleasure to have you here, boys. Our pleasure to have you here entirely. There's been a lot of buzz around Hegid for, quite some time, ever since you guys burst onto the scene, because you seem to have managed to overcome one of the main challenges that many small, young, independent brands have been tackling over the past years, and that is the idea of modularity and self-customization at home. It's something that's been in the consciousness of collectors for quite some time, but you seem to have cracked it. So, Henrick, why don't you give us a bit of a background to the brand, how you came to establish Hegid, and exactly who you've worked with along the way?
Watchmaking came to me, I think, during the year 2006. I was I used to work for Louis Vuitton, and for training, they sent me to Switzerland, and I discovered those small mechanics. I was already a car lover, mechanics lover, so it was a real crush. And at that time, I started to buy some cheap watches on the eBay and fix it and then mix it. And this is why and how the idea of Hegid came at this moment. And then the passion was too strong. So one time a young jeweler bought a big jewelry in my town, and he came to me to be the store manager. So I said yes, of course, and it was the beginning of a beautiful career in watch retail. I used to work with big brands like Rolex, Omega, Panerai, all my dream watches, and I used to work too with watchmakers inside the stores, and I learned a lot of things. So I spent 8 years in Paris and Deauville in France, in Normandy, doing that job. And when I saw that the market was opening, I said to myself, okay, why not us? We have an idea, we have a concept, we have a new trend for new independent watchmakers. So we launched the idea and we work on it, and here it comes.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, it is definitely something unusual. Like I say, there have been brands that have tried it before, but nobody seemed to be able to make the idea stick. I guess you have a very up close and personal knowledge of why it's so difficult to make this concept, this case capsule concept that can be flipped in and out of case sheaths, as it were, so reliable. So what kind of problems did you encounter when you first conceived the idea for Hegid and then started to try to have it manufactured?
It's not so hard to make. We are not the first to do that. Omega did that with the Omega 2000 in the 70s. The main fact was to make it possible without tools and skills, and this is really what we wanted for everybody. It's an old dream to, like you do it with your clothes every morning. You are making your own style. I wanted to make it possible for everybody, and this is what took time, because it was really easy to put parts together, but make it easy for everybody, strong, because we are making 3,000 watches, so we make everything, almost everything, in France and Switzerland. So it's high quality watches, and we had to find a system that lasts and that is really easy to use. And it took a little bit more than 2 years before the first watch on the market.
I guess all things considered, that's actually a pretty fast turnaround, considering how different it is from the majority of watches out there at the moment. Now, let's just dig into those numbers for a second. You say you're making 3,000 watches a year. Is that correct?
No, 3,000 euros watches.
3,000 euros. Okay.
Yeah, this is a price range, in a Hegid collection, a watch. So 3 elements start to 2,500 euros. And I think the most expensive in the catalog with the 3 more expensive Elements is 3,450 euros.
Okay, so that's quite a compact price range within the catalogue, at least less than €1,000 delta between the bottom and the top. But are you represented around the world by retailers yet, or are you working directly from B to C?
We just began recently distribution in the United States with one of the top 10 elite retailers in the North American region, which is Manfredi Jewels. The interest right now is more than 20 new doors that are requesting Hegid, which is a very heartwarming situation for all of us that we have really very quickly just through a small, energetic team to get the word out about the brand through social media and advertising that the requests are coming in. And it's actually on a daily basis that I receive personal messages. We do have options currently to move into the UK, and we have some very strong options to move into Japan as well. So we're going to set out now throughout the Americas to open up the top tier retailers, keep it very, very compact, only the most elite retailers possible that will respect the brand and really take very good care of our heritage and our legacy moving forward.
So you say you got 20-ish requests from top-end retailers. Are they all US-based retailers at the moment you're talking about?
Well, no, there's a couple of retailers in the UK, but yes, so we have requests through the US and Canada.
These retailers are reaching out to you without any solicitation whatsoever. They're just coming to you and saying, Scott, we've seen Hegid, we've seen what you're doing. We'd like you in our portfolio.
That is correct.
I mean, that's an incredible position to be in because, as you know, I've worked in the retail side of things. And a lot of the time when you're trying to open a new brand in a new market, especially not a domestic brand, this is a French brand opening in the US. Obviously, you've got a great reputation there, so that probably helps in that regard. But that's not easy to get that kind of interest. And you think you've done that because of your small, passionate team and your Instagram presence?
It's many factors, Rob. One of them is we've been working at this to get the word out about the brand direct to the retailers through email blasts, invitations to events, to come and see us during Watches and Wonders Week, updating them on all of our very high volume of editorial. We're truly honored almost on a monthly basis to have editorial requests, and we're very, very diligent about getting those new editorial pieces out to the retailers so they can start reading and understanding about Hegid. And yes, it also comes back to my ties, throughout the Americas. When they see an email come through from me, certainly they know who I am. I've worked with them with several elite brands. So it's, yes, I have the relationship, so it does make it a bit easier. Even globally, there are quite a few retailers that know me quite well from previous brands.
Incredible stuff. So of these 20-ish retailers in the States, UK and beyond, how many of them actually accepted your invitation to come and get the watches in their hands? And how did you think that actually affected their decision to approach you thereafter for representation?
So we're at the phase right now where the door is open. Please come and show us the brand by request. The rest is really up to the brand at this point. I've never failed to show Hegid to a collector or a retailer or someone who has no interest in timepieces at all and have this wow moment when you take that watch off your wrist and you immediately, instead of handing it to them, you demonstrate the EVOL locking system on the back, which is pure genius. When I drop a capsule, the movement, the crystal, the crown into somebody's hand and quickly take out another case design from my pocket and reinstall it, everyone has a wow moment. The retailers know what Hegid is now through a lot of hard work. They want to see it in their stores. And when it's by request, that means we're interested in having the product in our boutique. They do not, at least in this region, they do not open those invitations easily. As you know, Rob, it's It's very, very complex relationships. When they request it, it's because they are interested in having it in their offering.
Yeah, it is really interesting, and you're absolutely right. I do know from personal experience that it's not easy to do what you're describing. And I wonder, from a retailer's perspective, I guess you've spoken to some, but maybe not all, about their motivations for taking the brand. Is it because, okay, so I'll throw a few options at you, and maybe it's a mixture of all of them, but I'd be interested in your opinion or feedback from retailers. I mean, as we know, a lot of independent retailers are losing major brands left, right, and center. We know that major group brands, especially, are pulling back and verticalizing or consolidating with their bigger and their name brand retailers. We know that a lot of high-end independents are investing in their own stores. We know that's difficult for one thing. Is it also maybe because they see potential in the product that either they like personally and they think, given their experience, it could have success, or because they have actually already received feedback from customers, blind feedback, saying, oh, you know what I wish we had? A brand that enabled us to do X, Y, Z, and Hegid is exactly that. What do you think it could be?
It's an amalgam of all of those things. I can give it a perfect example. I reached out to a very prominent Los Angeles-based retailer recently, and the owner and CEO of this location could not say enough about Hegid and what he's heard about the brand and wants to see the product. So this is coming in from his own research in social media. It's coming in from being sparked by customer request. Have you seen this particular watch? Also, I think it's challenging right now for some retailers to get the more established big brands in their locations, and there's less supply of the product typically. And we offer something so unique and so different than any other product in their store that it's hard to deny the power of something so French, artistic, unique. The other thing is about Hegid, whenever we launch a new case design, through Henrick's hard work and also our brilliant artistic director, Jerome, we have an option to bring somebody back into a retailer store. There's something else that the retailer can speak to their customer about. It may only be for a case design that's $600 or $700, but it's like retaining the customer to come back in, say hello again, see more about Hegid, and really it brings them back in to see the other brands and the other staff in their boutiques. Part of what makes us very, very unique.
That is interesting, actually. Yeah, that necessity almost for repeat business, or at least incentive for repeat business, being able to effectively change your watch entirely for what is almost like a subscription fee thereafter. So have you ever thought about doing that, like having a subscription fee where you send people a new case every 12 months, just randomly, like a surprise one in the post?
It's a wonderful idea, Henrick.
No, this is not really the question. I wanted to complete what Scott said, and you, Rob, said, because there is a really new trend in the watch industry now. You're totally right that big brands are leaving the authorized dealers, and on the other end, there is the trend of the independent watchmakers. Okay, but independent watchmakers mostly are very expensive, and a lot of retailers, we know it on the US market, but we are starting to see it on the European market, are trying to find something independent, something original, something that can replace the brands are losing, but with a new spirit. And this trend is becoming very solid at this time.
Yeah, I think it's actually indicative of something that I've noticed happening specifically in Britain amongst the British watchmakers. And this is largely facilitated there by the Alliance of British Watch and Clock Makers, which has been firmly established by Roger Smith and Mike France of Christopher Ward, and amongst many others. They now have over 70 brands working together on this alliance. And what it seems to have done is galvanize the independent industry in a way that we've never seen before in watchmaking. And the independents are now almost operating, it's like a shoal of fish, like they're a group themselves almost. They're strong because they're united, and they understand that as the groups pull back from traditional brick and mortar mom and pop store retail and try and verticalize and consolidate their own efforts to benefit only them, the independents have to do the same. They have to stop fighting each other, have to work together. And it seems that this has opened up the possibility that in the near future, we will see all of those traditional retailers that used to have Zenith and Omega and Bulgari and all of the broad swath of brands that we expect to see next to one another in a retail store on the high street. They will become independent hotspots. They will become locales where people can go and experience true watchmaking rather than group watchmaking. And you might have hit the market at the perfect time to exploit that. I mean, I guess the feeling of optimism behind the scenes is quite high, right?
There is, a lot of sympathy from the people for this new scene, because on every salon, every year, we are doing parties all together, and it's like maybe not a big family, but it's like a new trend, very fresh. And I think a lot of customers want to be part of this new generation. And yes, this is really new, because during years, big brands have settled the rules, and now we are coming with something fresh, and I think people want to be part of it.
Okay, I have a question for Scott in regards to that. If we're focusing on the retail through Scott, then I think this is one that he can answer. You talked about this retail in LA, so I'm racking my brains thinking from the very oblique way you described it, who it could be. Now, you may not want to mention them, but the one that popped to mind was Feldmar for some reason. Now, can you say whether that's right or wrong?
I prefer not to at this time.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm not going to push you any further. It's not really necessary, because what it did was it sparked a thought in my mind, because I've visited quite a few of the LA retailers, the big ones, and there's quite a bit of differentiation in the way in which the products are presented within those stores. So let's take Feldmar and Bindi as two examples. Okay, so Feldmar is a huge store, a massive destination boutique for watch fans in LA. They have, I don't know how many brands, but I'm guessing it's 40 or 50, Scott. I don't know. You know the guys, I'm sure. So it's a lot. It's a lot. And when you go in there, you are confronted with, it's like a walking catalog, basically. It's like, do you remember at Christmas, you used to get like the catalogs, like the mail order catalogs from, in England, we had Argos or Toys R Us or Littlewoods or something like this. And it basically is a catalog full of everything you'd possibly want to buy in life. Feldmar is like the physical representation of that. And you have sales assistants sort of floating around, and several built-out shopping shops with dedicated sales assistants who will focus on those brands in particular. And they'll answer your questions. They'll get the watches out of the cabinets. They'll let you try them on. It's like Bindi, for example. Bindi is a bit more of a traditional luxury boutique. You go in there, there's tables that you can sit down at, tables and chairs. There's fewer watches. There's more jewelry. There's a bit more of a sparkle to the whole thing. It's less of a, I'd say, aficionado's place and more of a luxury experience destination. Now, what suits Hegid best? Is it somewhere where you are surrounded by basically every other watch brand going, so there's a huge amount of context to the difference of what you offer? Or is it better to have a quieter, slightly more pared back retailer that maybe has more focus on your brand and more time to explain it to the customer? Or do you see the value in both?
I definitely see the value in both. I think what it really comes down to, from my personal experience presenting the brand at retail, it comes down to the passion of the individual presenting it. If you approach Hegid and you just show one that's completely built, it's not the same impact if you take a pause, if the sales associate takes a pause, whether it's at a store like Feldmar, as you mentioned, where they have a little bit of everything, or a sit-down store. It's in the approach. When you quickly demonstrate the watch with the right enthusiasm and you say, this is not your standard watch. Wait, let me show you how fantastic this is. the client's eyes light up immediately. So it can be done in either environment very successfully. It's just a matter of finding, who in a sales training, for instance, I always love to find the individual who asks the most questions when they get a new brand, shows the most enthusiasm and passion for the concept and the artistry of Hegid. If you find that individual or individuals in a retail training, you immediately find your brand ambassadors within that boutique. So that could be in a small, quiet, elegant sit-down setting, or, a bigger store where they have 30 or 40 brands. It comes down to the passion and the presentation and expressing the artistry that is so beautifully done with Hegid.
Those guys and girls on the ground that have the passion and have the feeling for the brand is absolutely invaluable. I still remember now, like 5 years since I actually worked with Fraser Hart, there was two guys, one in the one new chain store called Sam and one in White City called Newman, and they should have been on the payroll for Nomos, to be honest, because every time I went there and I taught them something new, they just soaked it up like sponges, and then they were able to just regurgitate it to the clientele even better than I could with all the training I had from the brand directly. And it's just so valuable. And you're absolutely right. I'm sure you've got a great many ambassadors because of how different Hegid is and how easy it is to talk about. And talking about how easy it is to talk about, you mentioned earlier that you have a great deal of editorial representation throughout traditional watch media, and that's certainly true. I've seen it firsthand. I think I've even written 1 or 2 articles about the brand. And I'd like to know, candidly speaking, how much of that did you have to pay for, and how much of it did people come to you and offer to write for free?
Oh, that's a very interesting and frequently asked question. We have not paid for any of it.
You're kidding. Come on. Seriously, you've not?
No. My colleagues who can back me up on that, I truly believe that our story is so interesting and so compelling and so unique that we've been approached by media outlets frequently to tell the story of Hegid because it is so different. It's not just another timepiece. It's mechanical art. Where we're giving the creativity back to the consumer who purchases a timepiece. That's really, without the use of tools, of course, there's a really incredible story to tell there. So no, we have not. And, I always use the word heartwarming. We put so much love into this brand as a team of like-minded people that when we get a request, from so many top publications, both digital and print, finding your name written up that you're the brand to watch in 2023, unsolicited, it's a wonderful emotion for us.
Well, I can imagine, because from my personal experience, it's getting rarer and rarer that media outlets are able to do that. And it's really heartwarming is the word, really heartwarming for us as well to hear that there are still people pursuing traditional watch journalism for the good of the watch consuming public, because that's what we need. We need unbiased opinions. We need to have people out there seeking out what's new and what's exciting and then reporting it to the masses. And I am very glad, and thank you to you for creating stories that people want to write about without having their palm crossed with silver. Now, silver. I'm doing all right with my segues today. I tell you, I'm trying a new interviewing technique today. I've moved over to using the new Zencastr phone app. So I have my phone in one hand, and for the first time in a long time, I have a notebook next to me. So I'm actually writing down notes as we go through, because it is fascinating to talk to you with so much information available about the development of a young brand. I misunderstood earlier what Henrick said about the 3,000 number. Now, I thought he was talking about volume. He was obviously talking about cost, but what are the kind of volumes we're talking about in terms of production here?
We are talking about hundreds of watch in a year. And this is all we have to develop now, because as you understood, we have some retailers that want to have Hegid. And, we are not industrials, we are artisans. And we have to change a lot of things to make the volume permits to open a lot of retailers. But as a formal retailer, I think we have to do it. And this is, for example, we are making a fundraising right now to develop the brand, and this is our goal. Our goal is to from hundreds go to 2,000, and to not really to make a very important series, but we want to make more series in a year. We are a mix between watches, very high quality watches, and fashion. So we want to do a lot of collection. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of design already set in hard drives that are ready to go to the machines, and we want to propose a lot of material for our clients. Hegid is not really a brand of watches. It's Hegid stuff is creative material for the imagination of our clients. It's like pure styles, but it lies all the life. So this is what we don't want to lose our soul, and we want to go step by step. That's why we are not going to make 10,000 watches next year, even if we have a lot of money. But we want to go step by step and be sure that the message will be understood.
Absolutely incredible to hear that there's that patient plan of development. Now, we probably should have done this at the top of the show, but let's just have a very, very clear walkthrough of exactly what it is you offer, so anyone that hasn't seen Hegid or doesn't understand the concept behind it can picture what we're talking about. Scott, maybe try this one yourself. I'm sure you've done it a million times in training sessions.
Of course. So essentially what you have is our displays are absolutely beautiful at point of retail. We're actually refreshing them now with new creations from our artistic director, Jerome. You have on display the capsules individually, watches already set up as a complete timepiece with a strap, and then the individual elements of the timepiece. So the capsule being the movement, the crystal, it looks basically like a watch without a design around it. And then you have the collection of the artistic designs of the cases that we have, whether it's the Explorer or the Mirage case that was the first design of our artistic director. And you bring together these elements before the customer in the sales cycle. And it's a wonderful experience to play around with the designs to create your own bespoke watch. But the interesting thing that we're starting to see more and more, and I think Henrick can say from the boutique in Paris, you start to see a client not be able to choose just one case design. So they're usually between one or two different design elements, and that's the concept, to be able to create your own personal wardrobe of watches. I described it recently to somebody when they said, well, I was in a meeting with a major retailer, and they saw the beautiful box that we present every Hegid creation in. It looks like a cigar humidor. It's exceptional. And I said, this is the block of marble that Michelangelo released the sculpture from. You open this box and your creativity is without any limits except for the collection within. And we find that people love to choose one. There's always a primary design that everyone loves, but there's also one that's a close second to it. And the idea is have that person, for not a lot of money, have an add-on to that sale or a second strap. Then the follow-up really falls on us to partner with the retailer to announce new designs, new finishes, and allow them to come back in, as I said earlier, and fill that beautiful wardrobe box with additional elements. What's really beautifully designed by Henrick is each element that you buy from Hegid, whether it's a new strap, a new case design, or a new capsule, it comes in a pod. And I think you've seen this, Rob, when we met in Switzerland, where the pod fits into the wardrobe box. So when you open this beautiful humidor style box, you have all of your elements all lined up. And you can pick and choose whatever from a day at the office to an evening black tie to a weekend on your boat at the shore. You're ready to go out the door with a whole wardrobe in your pocket. It's really an incredible gift that Henrick has given to the watch world. It's so artistic. The creativity is really boundless, but it's handed over to the customer.
Yeah, I have seen it and I am impressed by it. And I do think that it's something very, very novel to have brought to this level of refinement. I know this is a pretty basic question, but I feel compelled to ask, do you have a favorite case, both of you?
I know Scott's answer.
Yes, I absolutely love the Expedition case. It's our square case. It's very robust, very rugged looking. And a second to that would be the Mirage design. And as far as the dials, the capsules, honestly, I love all of them. Perhaps the one that is so whimsical is the Colorama, where you can actually change the colored window at the top at the 12 o'clock position. I think it's exceptional.
And you, Henrick, what's yours?
That's it. It's a very tough question, but I think I cannot do anything else to love the very first watch we released in 2018, and that we call the retro watch. So it's not a case. The case is a Vision case. It's a sporty one with the rotating bezel, but really my favorite watch, but for very personal reasons, is the very first one that we released in brown, because I did it for me. And you can imagine that this kind of adventure, this kind of enterprise, we spend so many time to work on the plans or on the drawing, on the way we will make that watch, that when I made myself the first one, and this is the one I still wearing almost every day. And this is a watch is like a kid. Yeah, I'm sure you can understand that. But that's right, that every time we release a new shape, a new strap, you cannot do anything else that to try it and keep it maybe 15 days or 1 month, because it changed everything. You have a new watch with only a new 3,000 euros case, and it make a new watch. And yes, every time we release something new, it's a new birth for us.
I always assumed that the beauty of the concept was that people would have one capsule with one dial, one movement all within it, and then several case surrounds. What's the technical term for the case surround, the sheath, or the, what do you call it?
The carrier.
Carrier.
Yes. We call the capsule, because this is like a space capsule, It's waterproof. We have a sport watch really features, because it's really waterproof with a screwed crown, a screwed tube, a screwed back. And you can put it in any carrier you want to make the style you want. And then the bracelet that fits on every carrier, of course.
Okay, so my assumption was that people would have one capsule and many carriers to put the capsule into. But do you find that it's a mixture? Like some people prefer to shift the dial throughout the single case shape, or that they have a couple of each, or maybe 3 of one and 2 of the other? How do you find the division tends to go?
There's no rule. We have a lot of clients that buy every new capsule that comes because they want to change the dial. For example, last year we released the Celeste watch. Maybe you know it. The Celeste is a collaboration with our very good friend Hervé Manufacturier, and it's a very special design, that watch, because it looks like, a 70s spaceship. This is the universe that they work on. And even that watch, this is the only watch that we sell completely. We don't want to split it on the sale, because you are not going to take a Picasso paint and mix it with a Dali and sell it like this. So this is the only watch that we sell complete. But even that one, our customer try new things, new mix, and this is what we want. This is not. Some people have only the Celeste because of the design, but some other want to create and create and create again. So every time we offer them a new material, if they like, they buy. If they don't like, they don't take it. And they do. I like to talk about mechanical DNA, because the box that Scott talked about is a box that you can give to your son, and your son can give it to his grandson. And inside that box, you will find so many design. Not only a 70 watch design that it's too small for his period or something like this. You can create and create and create again, and this is the romantic vision that we have for that brand. We want to make material for every generation. And this is also why we choose to work in that kind of process of watchmaking, working with French machining, with Swiss movement. We wanted the quality that lasts for the next generation. This is, everybody will say that, but this is my romantic view of watchmaking.
No, I understand that entirely. I mean, personally, I would never want to be involved in a brand that was started just to capitalize on a trend or a passing fad and make a bit of money and then disappear. Building a brand is a massive responsibility, a huge undertaking, but I think it's the most rewarding path to follow in watchmaking. But to get there, of course, you do need to increase to a certain amount the number of watches that you make. And you mentioned the numbers currently are around 100 pieces, and you have a goal to eventually produce 1,000 pieces annually. How long do you think it's going to take you to get there? Do you have a set time frame that you're aiming towards, or are you going to take it year by year?
We'll see. We'll see. In any enterprise, in any startup, you do with what you have. Okay, so for now, we expect to produce 2,000 watches in 5 years. Not a total of 2,000 watches, but in year 5, we want to produce 2,000 watches.
Okay, that's quite a steep climb, to be honest. I mean, that requires a massive expansion of presence and representation, but I suppose also the building out of this retailer network that, Scott, you were talking about. Now, obviously, the US is a market that is very experimental, I think, quite willing to take a risk on their new watches. I've noticed this from working with Arcanaut. The vast majority of our customers come from the States because they, love novelty and they love experimental design. But where else do you identify as key markets? You said there was a little bit of interest in the UK and a bit in Japan, but do you think that the Middle East will be a big market for you? Do you think you want to go further into China or anywhere like that?
So I don't really envision the US market being the great risk takers that you had mentioned. I think they're very, very careful about what they select for their offerings, but it has to be unique. And yes, we're having a moment where independent brands are at the forefront of their thought process to add to their collections to offer to their clientele. As far as other markets, I think we have a very strong interest actually in the UK, and we're having some conversations now to expand upon that, which is very exciting for us. As far as other markets, without question, Japan is seemingly a market that is they love the artistic interpretation of a watch through French artistry and design. So we're starting to get a lot of positive feedback, even from journalists and podcasters from that market and other executives within the Japanese market. As far as the Middle East, yes, absolutely. There's no question that there's going to be a strong market for us there as well. China is, the complexities of moving into the Chinese market. I'd really prefer to have somebody later on. I think that is directly working with Hegid to manage that. But we have too many other options, in front of us initially. Like Henrick said earlier, a very methodical, strategic, step-by-step, plan. As far as the, just a little bit of a correction, though, it's beyond 100 timepieces, Rob. It's actually hundreds of timepieces being produced currently. So not just simply 100 units. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to have, a strategy that's this ambitious. So I think the key market for me is going to be, without question, the U.S., followed by the Canadian market, which is somewhat limited. There are only so many key cities that I'm really targeting. But once that is fully established, there's no question that it will start to spider out to other countries as well.
Very good. And thanks for that correction, because I did wonder if we're talking 100, 200, 700, 900, there's a big scope there. I mean, I guess you're saying it's hundreds, so we're talking more than 2, less than 5. Ballpark?
I would say under 1,000 units.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for the clarification.
Fair to say, Henrick?
No. We don't like to speak about that, and
Of course you don't. That's why I'm asking you. It's my job.
It doesn't mean we speak. Well, it's more than, if you want a better number. We produce and sell more than 300 capsules last year.
Okay, very good.
Okay, but we also sell almost 1,000 carrier and almost 1,500 bracelets.
Very good. Okay, thank you. I do appreciate that. That's interesting, of course, because your numbers are very different in the way that they're scattered around from other brands, because you have so many more elements of the watch to sell and can be sold separately. So, moving on to my next question. You mentioned that you did a special edition last year, and this was obviously very well received by the media because it was extremely striking. It was unlike anything else that any other brand is really making in 2023. And it made me wonder, is there scope, as you do expand around the world with retailers, to do special editions with retailers or with media outlets, but not in the traditional sense that many brands have done? Because, of course, you could either do one or the other. You could simply have a special edition capsule with, say, Hodinkee, and a special edition Carreur with, say, Feldmar, for example. So you can really mix up what you do. Are there thoughts to do that yet?
The wonderful part about Hegid is the artistry that we have with our artistic director. We're small enough and nimble enough, yet have the creative energy behind us to be able to create bespoke projects. In fact, we're working on a little secret project right now for some meetings that are going to take place very soon, because we're already thinking with the work of Henrick to present very, very bespoke collections. Yes, if Feldmar, for instance, or Manfredi Jewels, or any other retailer, Le Samaritain in Paris, if anyone wanted to do a very bespoke collection, or what we like to refer to internally as our icons collection, but in new materials, new dial colors, perhaps a special logo or an icon on the dial, we have the ability to do that, which really sets us apart. We can do this in a manner that is fluid, creative. Would absolutely involve the retailer who is asking for such a bespoke project, but it's also part of the fun of being a Hegid. It's we use the word artistry quite often in this discussion, but it's really at the point where we can take this to the height of any art form, from aesthetics to materials to shapes, colors. We can do this quite easily, and actually, we encourage it.
I find it quite interesting what you said about you not seeing the US as this risk-taking nation, because I used to agree with that entirely. When I first started my retail career in the UK, I found it to be extremely conservative, very brand-driven, very old school. They wanted the reputation, they wanted the status, and they weren't really willing to take a chance on smaller, new brands, especially things coming out of the European continent. And I used to think that the US was kind of the same, but bigger. But then I realized, and I think you touched upon the slight wrinkle of difference between those two nations. The independent side of things is much bigger in the US because I think there are simply more watch fans. And I think there are people that are getting a bit tired of the same old, same old. So I guess that you do have like huge potential there. I really just, I could just see so many creative ideas coming out of the States being such a diverse nation as it is. Do you think that you're better suited to the Northeast or the Southwest or maybe another region in the US?
You know, it's interesting. It's a great question, and I can add a little bit of clarity to my opinion on the market. We are, I think, the independents are really coming into their own. Thanks to a lot of other more common brands that we can certainly name, but it's been a region globally for very traditional brands where the retailers wanted the easier, tried and true. But now some of those watches are very difficult to get. So yes, there is a level of risk taking, as you say, to bring in the independent watch brands. But as far as the regions within the United States, I am overwhelmed with the retailers from the Midwest, West Coast, very odd areas that I would not expect, who have actually reached out, even through, and Henrick can tell you lately, the number of people trying to link with me through Instagram, seeing some of my posts. Again, I use the word heartwarming because they're coming from states that I really didn't expect. Everybody always expects to see New York, Boston, the Hamptons, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, LA, but they start to forget about some really affluent cities that are very sophisticated in their watch collecting throughout the Southeast, the Midwest, the heartland of the United States. I've met some incredible collectors from places that would be essentially considered rural, and yet their knowledge and sophistication in collecting timepieces is as high level as you would find a New York collector or a top collector in, say, Miami or Los Angeles.
That is fascinating, actually. What kind of sizes do the Hegid watches run to? I mean, I guess that you have a few different options once you pair the different capsules with different couriers, but what kind of diameters and thicknesses are we talking about?
With the current collection, we have a capsule that measures 34 millimeters of diameter. And with that capsule, we can adapt some carrier from 38 millimeters to 42 millimeters for the expedition carrier, for example, the wide one. So this is the regular sizes that we can put on this capsule. But in our plans, of course, we are going to release a new size, a smaller size, for maybe women's and small wheels, because 38 millimeters is quite small for men, but it's quite big for some women. So we want to have watches for everybody. and every kind. Then this is why we want to release one smaller size and one bigger than to make chronographs, for example. This is something that we can't do with the current size, the regular size. And of course, we expect to make some complication one day, So we need big cases, big capsule to put everything we want inside. But the first step after the regular collection will be the smaller size for small wrist.
Very smart indeed. Yeah, I can see why that would start to appeal to even more regions as well. Because Scott, it was interesting you mentioned the Midwest, because I was recently there chatting to some guys in Chicago, and they surprised me with their testimony of what it was that their buyers were most interested in. And it was smaller sizes, thinner sizes, something more versatile, stepping away from like the big bulky watches of maybe 10 or 15 years ago, perhaps unsurprisingly. But I expected in somewhere like Chicago to see more size on the wrist. But I guess that the trends are telling, and that kind of area, and also maybe the Northwest, I don't know, Seattle, if you've had any interest there, that's a market I know basically nothing about, but I could see them being quite popular in that region also.
Yeah, so Chicago is a very sophisticated timepiece collecting market. There are some retailers that really have done an exceptional job. Of course, everything is taste specific. We can't imagine that everybody's going to want to wear a 42 millimeter watch. So that's why we have, down to 38 millimeters and up. But surprisingly, the Midwest is very sophisticated with all different brands. A lot of independent brands are becoming these, rising stars in these areas. Yes, Seattle, Pacific Northwest, there is some interest, although slower to come on board. But there are some really key retailers in the Pacific Northwest that would be exceptional business partners of a brand like Hegid.
Good to hear that Hegid is well placed to exploit a market like Chicago that has those high-level tastes. Now, Henrick, one last question for you before we wrap it up. If our listeners want to go and check out the products in the metal, where can they do so? What is the address of the boutique in Paris, and what times are you open?
The address of the boutique is the 8 Rue Volnay. In the center of Paris. Is very easy to find because we are just at the middle between the Place Vendôme and the Boucher store. So we are 100 meters from each. So we are on the path of every watch enthusiast in Paris. So we are easy to, you can find the exact address, of course, on the website. And we are easy to find because we have beautiful boutique. The boutique was made by Hervé Manufacturier, the old friends or artist friends with who we made the Celeste watch. And we have a very, very special universe that we are very proud of. And I invite everybody that come in Paris to come to see us. The boutique is open. Let's say that we are the Hegid band, because I used to say that we are like a rock band, But if you want to meet us, come in the afternoon. Not because we are a rock band, like we don't wake up early, but because generally we set all the appointments outside in the morning, and then we eat together, and we spend some time at the boutique in the afternoon. So don't hesitate to let a message on the website before, and you will see really amazing thing, because at the boutique we can present the project we are working on. We still have Celeste watches. That is really important. This collection is crazy. It changed the vision of Hegid all around the world. And we can say not many, but a few secrets about the future of Hegid if you come to see us in Paris.
Well, there you go. I don't think you need any more of a reason to take a trip over to Paris and visit the team, visit the rock band in the afternoon, preferably, and have a nice time exploring those watches. Thank you very much, guys, for your time. I really appreciated it. If any of our listeners have questions for the Hegid Boys, then please get in touch with me directly. You can find me on Instagram at RobNuds, ROBNUDDS. My regular co-host, Alon Ben Joseph, is findable at ALONBENJOSEPH, or you can contact us via our emails, either Rob or Alon at therealtime.show, or send us a message via the contact form on www.therealtime.show. If you would like to join our WhatsApp network and become part of the fastest growing community in the podcast world, then please do let us know and we can add you in there straight away. Until next time, stay safe and keep on ticking.